Hey guys, we are Chapter 7. My name is Zach, Sabri, Markel, and Taylor are all going to be meeting with you today to talk about organizational design. So organizational design and structure depicts how a company will be laid out and operated. Division of labor, coordinated mechanisms, forms, and also communication within the company all come from the organizational structure. So the size of the company, flexibility to a changing environment, and the age of the company are all inputs decide needed for how the organization will be structured after that. So the first one we're going to be talking about is division of labor. The division of labor basically talks about how much control an employee has over a certain project. So they have vertical specialization and horizontal specialization. With vertical specialization, if the employee is budgeting for a project and then they're also implementing it and they're also telling other employees how to do this project, they have a very strong vertical specialization because they're doing a large amount of this project. The horizontal specialization talks about the width of control they have over it. So if an employee is controlling multiple projects, but they're just controlling the budgeting part of it, they have large horizontal specialization and small vertical specialization. If they're doing the budgeting and implementing it and also controlling employees, they have both horizontal and vertical specialization. The coordinating mechanisms is next. Now coordinating mechanisms talks about organizers and behaviorists. An organizer in a firm will say strong roles of what you're going to be doing, standardization of your job, and also tiered leadership is how they think the company will become most efficient. You can see this in a functional form, which we'll be talking about later on. A behaviorist will say to create more creativity within the firm, they're going to let you do your own thing. So you see this a lot in Google and YouTube. They have slides going through their company, and it's to promote fun, to promote creativity. The roles aren't very structured. The standardization of job is very loose, so employees don't feel like they're stuck doing the same mundane job over and over again. And that way they feel like they're actually getting value from their job. With these two, a clan approach will be more for behaviorists. The clan approach is basically everyone's working in unity for the betterment of the group, and then with the bureaucratic approach, that's for the organizers who say, my boss told me to do this, I'm the boss of you, you're going to do this because that's what they tell us to do. Now moving on to forms, we have 4. That's functional, network, and then also divisional and matrix. So the main one that's coming out lately is the network form, and that works well with a small firm with a lot of creativity. It's mostly with the clan approach and behaviorists. The network is using a lot of cross-functional teams, so that's people from research and development, people from sales, and then also marketing coming together to work on a project. But they're also using people outside of the firm, so they're using like a third party to help. Maybe if they're going to do graphic design, they're going to grab a third party to do that so they can focus specifically on the project at hand. The functional form is one you've seen. That's the one people are most used to. You have a CEO, and then from there goes the middle managers to the first line managers, and finally the first line employees. So the first line employees are the ones you're going to be dealing with in a retail. They're going to be selling you the product, and the managers in that store basically. Last are the 4 C's. So the 4 C's are coordination, cooperation, capability development, and connection. These are all used to talk about, or all used to become a customer-centric firm. So these are very new C's that are coming out. It's a new type of theory basically that companies are implementing. With coordination, that's basically making the information systems that a company uses very smooth and homogeneous so that they can focus specifically on the customers and they don't have to worry about what's going on with all the details. Cooperation is more about the community within the firm. So cooperation is focused on having all of the employees working together. Maybe they'll all go out for happy hour after work or something to get that cooperation that they need to get through the day. Capability development focuses more on the skills that they have. So if you're working for a dealership and you're a technician who works on cars, your capability development is going to be needed technicianal training, so you know how to work on specific types of cars such as hybrids, over just electronics or just motor vehicles. And then lastly is connection, and that's focused on reaching out to other firms basically and working well with them, like in the network form, to basically spread out the weight evenly. Now next is going to be Taylor, and he's going to be talking about the case study in Chapter 7.
My name is Taylor, and I'm here with you guys to talk about the chapter case. FBI is under an umbrella organization, Department of Justice, also known as the DOJ. It utilizes a centralized structure and a functional form in its branches. When the FBI started, it was divided into two divisions, criminal investigation and intelligence. While the former determined what happened in the past, the latter tried to predict the future. So in the 1970s, the FBI's major priorities included counterintelligence, organized crime, and white-collar crime. In the 1980s, they added drug offenses. The counterterrorism was added in the 1990s. During this time, each category did not receive the same level of attention in the organization. And then the September 11th attacks on the World Trade Center and Pentagon sent shockwaves throughout the organization. And the follow-up investigation revealed that the FBI and the Central Intelligence Agent, also known as the CIA, had enough information to prevent these attacks, but failed to share information. So basically, the old system relied on field agents to scan the environment for case leads, work for a long time on cases, and prosecute criminals. The system proved to be unreliable because threats were becoming more nationally and internationally connected. In the new system, all efforts were led by intelligence. Agents would learn about new threats, access the information gap, and conduct field work to fill in that information. Based on that data, where it was attained, field agents would proactively fight criminals and terrorism. So after the 9/11, the FBI traditional priority was to flip prevent active first. So they wanted to do get the activities of the prevent attacks first. And then second, the criminals, they wanted to prosecute the criminals. The three initiatives that they brought up during this time was a strategy management system, identify the key metrics and objectives. And then also they brought the strategic execution team, which is also the SCT. Implement long-term sustainable change, promote national security that will help the entire system. And then there's a strategy performance section that communicated overall strategy throughout the FBI and assess the progress. These three initiatives produce change in the FBI organizational structure and culture. And here's Sabri with the relation to the previous chapter in the Harvard Business Review.
What's up, guys? My name is Sabri, and I'm here to talk to you guys about the reference and the relation to the previous chapter. So the previous chapter was chapter 5, which basically talked about business level strategy. And business level strategy is when a manager evaluates the attractiveness of the industry that they're in, the opportunities and threats that are from the external environment and the firm's internal resources to determine how it will compete. Basically, chapter 5 introduced the SWOT analysis. SWOT is strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, and how a firm will align itself with these things to serve its customers and create a profit. The firm will then set itself up in a way that will allow it to be competitive against other firms and decide in what facet it will operate in the marketplace, whatever the marketplace could be. Firms will decide what resources they have and how these resources will allow them to achieve their objectives. For example, they will be involved in cost leadership, differentiation, or focused pace providing, and how a competitive advantage will be achieved. So basically, what cost leadership is basically trying to have the lowest cost and make sure that you're getting loyal customers strictly based off how low your prices are. Corporations kind of want to stay away from this because if you get into bidding wars with other companies and you just go lower, that's going to get to a point where your profits don't exceed your expenses. Differentiation is basically what we want as consumers. It's what we do and it's what we get. For example, Apple. Apple is rather expensive, but because they offer something that nobody else offers or we believe that anybody else can offer, we're willing to pay that. And focus-based is basically a combination of both. You want the correct price, and you also want to offer customers something that they can't get. So you're trying to mix both. Chapter 5 and Chapter 7 relate in the fact that it is the transition from strategy into the organizational design. Strategy is basically what the company seeks to reach, and the organizational design is how the company will set itself up to reach what it wants to reach. Organizational design handles the overall structure of the company and how it will run. A very structured and rigid structure is bureaucratic and centralized. Bureaucratic and centralized basically means that all the power is at the top. So basically that's the CEOs, CFOs, and the vice presidents. They're the ones making all the decisions, and everybody below them have to basically ask for them for permission for projects and things like that. Bureaucratic and centralized is normally used for much larger firms. And then you have the newer facet, which is the clan approach, which is very decentralized. Very big companies like YouTube and Google do this, as was previously mentioned. They do this because they're in environments that are very adaptable. Technology is always changing, and you want to be able to stay ahead of the curve. That is why they take this approach where the decision-making power is spread out amongst a lot of people, and the clan approach is honestly something that's in the marketplace to stay for certain corporations. Cut. What's up, guys? So coming up next is our review of the Harvard Business Review article. The article that I found was The Importance of Organizational Design and Structure by Jill Corkindale. Basically, Jill's article talks about a lot of business structures and firms' inability to adapt in the new age. She talks about how a lot of organizations nowadays are very stingy and rigid, and they rely on a very bureaucratic, centralized form, which basically all the power is at the top, and they're very slow when it comes to adapting, and that really hurts a lot of corporations. One corporation that I could relate to this Harvard Business Review article was actually Blockbuster. Blockbuster in relation to Netflix. Blockbuster had a very centralized bureaucratic organization where it was very hard for them to make any new adjustments and additions because of their leadership. Their leadership wanted them to do things in a specific way, and that basically got them out of the marketplace of the videos and movies. And then, of course, now everybody's using Netflix. Netflix was the new up-and-comer. They use a very clan-like approach. They're very decentralized. They make decisions spread out, and they are able to adapt strictly for the reason that Netflix started by sending movies to people's house. Now you can stream movies online, videos, shows, and even Netflix originals. They were very fluid and adaptable. And basically, in this article, Gil talks about how globalization and recent economic crises have forced organizations to rethink their structures and change how they operate. And the ones that have not rethought their structures and have not changed how they operate are the ones that are failing. She goes on to say, when an organizational strategy changes, the structures, roles, and functions should also change from everybody from the top down. That says for the CEO, all the way down to the branch manager if you're in an organization that is branched. When something changes at the top, everything down below has to change for it. It's like a building. You can't change the top of the building and not change the structure of the building to hold it up. The issue that Jill presented was that organizations rarely show people how to operate in a new structure. So when an organization does get to the point where it realizes that it has to change its structure, it really doesn't tell the people who are operating these structures how to change these things. And this can be a very big issue because if you're a CEO and you give your people a new mission, but you don't tell them how to carry your mission out, people are going to be at a loss for words. And then if you're in a decentralized organization, or even a centralized organization where permission is needed and you can't do much without higher management's approval, it's really hard for people to know what they're doing when they're not told how to do it. Jill then continues to talk about organizational structures and the design and how they dictate the relationships of the roles in an organization. There are many different types of relationships within organizations, depending on what type of organizational you're in. If you have a form that is functional, or a form that is divisional, or even a matrix type form, or even a network type form, relationships they vary depending on what you're in. And she talks about how once an organization gets to the point where they have told their people what they need to do and how they need to do it, she goes on to talk about how the relationships will change and alter, and people need to adapt to these new relationships, talking about changes of power. If an organization realizes that the environment that it's in is very adaptable and they need to go from a centralized to a decentralized, the people at the top need to realize that they need to start sharing their decision-making powers with everybody to make things faster. This is why certain companies like YouTube grew so fast and became so powerful. And then Jill continues to go on about outdated structures and how they can result in many different forms of inefficiencies. Nowadays, with all the new corporations, people need to be able to they need to be able to adapt, like I previously said. And there are a lot of outdated forms. There are forms where people don't even know their CEO, they can't even talk to them, and these are the companies that are honestly being pushed out of the system. And then finally, the poor organizational structure and designs that result in mass contradictions. You can't want to say you're in a decentralized system that works as a clan approach, but force all your employees to go through top management to make decisions. So basically, the Harvard Business Review talked about all the different forms of organizational structure and how they can be implemented and used. And then up next, we got Markel coming to you with 2 articles.
Hello everybody, my name is Markel Young. I'm here to talk to you about 2 relative sources such as Nike and Pepsi-Cola. Pepsi-Cola has changed its organizational structure over the past several years from a tiered organization structure to now a market division structure. Pepsi has 2 market divisions for business and geography. On the geography side, Pepsi has divisions located all around the world for North America, South America, Central America, Europe, and other areas of the region. Whereas on the business side, Pepsi contains a global division for Frito-Lay, which is a potato chip industry, and also another for Quaker Foods, basically trying to expand its market into the food business instead of basic drinks. Pepsi-Cola also operates under the functional structure of having global or corporate offices that are dedicated to handling each of the basic business functions. Pepsi uses centralized organization from top-down communication for monitoring and controlling the behavior of employees, coming from the board of directors all the way down to employees. Nike is an example of a divisional structure with containing qualities of both decentralized organization and centralized organization. Nike has a geographical division structure that is based on the company's needs in its global organization and regional markets. The company operations are divided into segments based on the regional markets, where each division manager controls operations for shoes, apparel, and equipment located in that region, giving them a decentralized organization. Nike also is a centralized organization where the board of directors for the whole company control the global operations for the company and rules that are trickled down throughout the company.
Hey guys, we hope you really enjoyed the video on Chapter 7. We're going to end with a question. Now, on Monday we're going to bring in candy, and we're going to give the candy to whoever we think has the best response to our question. So, are you ready? Imagine you are running a new startup company that offers a new tech product. What form, such as matrix, network, functional, strategy, cost leadership differentiation, and amount of vertical/horizontal specialization would you use in this new company? And then quickly explain why you would do this. You can quickly explain it by doing bullet points or just one sentence. Remember that the main structures are bureaucratic, which has a centralized structure. This involves tiered and a very rigid, strict flow of information, and decision-making powers are all at the top. Or you can do a clan approach, which is decentralized, which is a lot more free-flowing information that can bounce around from people to people, and the decision-making process is more to the person themselves. Hope you guys have a great time.